Failed coup d'état in Chad, Francafrique attempts to overthrow Marshal Mahamat Deby for sending neo-colonialist and imperialist Franco-American troops. Chris Yapi's owls have just unearthed a series of incisive documents on the trail of Chadian opposition leader, Succès Masra, former Prime Minister of Chad. These documents reveal the active involvement of Succès Masra, the Alassane Ouattara regime, the Élysée Palace, and the Sassou Nguesso regime in a vast operation to recapture Chad on behalf of the Francafrique Mafia. These documents prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the loss of the Sahel, and the more recent loss of Chad drove the Francafrique brass crazy, and they decided to mount an Operation Masra called in his discussions, the winning triangularization. Indeed, on May 9, 2024, President Mahamat Idris Deby Itno was declared the winner of Chad's presidential election, having soundly defeated his main opponent and former Prime Minister, Succès Masra. The May 9, 2024 edition of Le Monde Afrique summarized the news at the time as follows. In Chad, Mahamat Idris Deby declared the winner of the presidential election, his rival Succès Masra contests the provisional results. The incumbent head of state was elected president in the first round of the election with 61.03% of the vote on Thursday, according to provisional official results. In Chad, the outgoing head of state, General Mahamat Idris Deby Itno, was elected president of the republic on Thursday, May 9, in the first round of the election, 3 years after taking power at the head of a military junta. His prime minister, Succès Masra, disputes this victory. Far from accepting his defeat, opposition leader Succès Masra, who had traded his seat as prime minister with President Mahamat Deby, under the aegis of President Félix Tshisekedi in Kinshasa a few months earlier, swears by God that he will never allow the Deby's son to take over from his father in N'Djamena. For a long time, nursing his defeat, Masra will bite his lip, before attempting to reactivate the 3 cards that had previously alienated him from the Chadian people. Succès Masra played the secessionist and partitionist card, even going so far as to threaten to create a Republic of Southern Chad if he, the supposedly brilliant Parisian ENA graduate, the brains of brains, the dazzling star of intelligence, were not allowed to govern all of Chad. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for Chad, the secessionist and partitionist card did not work. Unlike Sudan, Chad still remains one and indivisible, despite all threats. The rise of Pan-Africanist ideology at the helm of Chad caught French neocolonialism off guard. Macron sings Kasongo in Chad. Succès Masra then played the card of supporting American imperialists and French neocolonialists, while trying to timidly disguise himself as a Pan-Africanist. We saw him running to Washington and Paris, trying to present himself as the best possible partner for the West at the head of Chad, because he was Franco-compatible, Euro-compatible, and even American-compatible. It was while Masra was attempting to leverage his NATO networks that the Marshal president of Chad took the entire world by surprise by breaking off military cooperation agreements with France and the United States, and ordering the rapid withdrawal of French neocolonialist troops, as well as American imperialist troops. On November 29, 2024, Le Monde and AFP reported the blow. The government of the Republic of Chad informs national and international opinion of its decision to terminate the defense cooperation agreement signed with the French Republic, declared Chadian Foreign Minister Abdourahmane Koulimala, in a statement published on the ministry's Facebook page. Chad is a key link in the French military presence in Africa, constituting Paris's last foothold in the Sahel after the forced withdrawals of its troops from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. What a bolt from the blue, in the already dark skies of the French neo-colonial empire. Macron, who had nevertheless endorsed the April 2021 coup d'état of the new Chadian president, is shouting from the rooftops about the ingratitude of his son, Deby, and vowing to take revenge at the first opportunity. Completely taken by surprise by the Chadian president's geostrategic about-face, which immediately accelerated his rapprochement with the AES, Paris then fell back overwhelmingly on its protégé, Masra, who is gradually being reinstated in the calculations of the Élysée and its local neo-colonial satellites, Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire, and Denis Sassou Nguesso of Congo-Brazzaville. The tyrant Ouattara, as we know, is a trusted ass-licker of the French neo-colonialists, to whom he does not hesitate to offer praise, and thanks day in and day out. It was largely thanks to the cannons of Nicolas Sarkozy's France, that Alassane Ouattara came to power in Côte d'Ivoire in 2010 to 2011. Similarly, it was thanks to the canons of Chirac's France that the despots Sassou Nguesso overthrew the democratically elected regime of President Lissouba in a bloody war in 1997. The documents Chris Yapi will now present to you clearly show that opposition leader Succès Masra appealed to President Macron to help him regain power in Chad through a triangularization, a three-party effort. Arrested on May 16, 2025, in N'Djamena, Masra will have difficulty explaining his direct exchanges with French, Ivorian, and Congolese leaders, as well as his close relationship with a French five-star general, who presents him as the future head of state of Chad. Document 1. Recent exchanges between Masra and the French president on signal messaging. Message 1. President. My best wishes, and I am available to move forward together in a triangularization that will benefit our two peoples. Yours sincerely. Success. Message 2. Good evening, President. This is Succès Masra. I hope you are well. I have arrived in Abidjan. I would like to meet with you. There are things you should know about Chad, to adjust your decisions regarding the relationship between our two countries, following the presidential election and the prospects I see. A 30-minute one-on-one will be sufficient for me. Best regards, SM, Message 3. Good evening, President. How can we look to the future together in this new context? I had additional information to bring to your attention, as indicated in my message above. This could have helped us anticipate what just happened. I am in Abidjan but could return immediately to meet with you if possible. Best regards, SM. It is clear that Succès Masra mentions his arrival in Abidjan to seek the support of the despot Ouattara for his desire for revenge in Chad. It also shows that, following President Deby's decision to expel French and American troops from Chad, Succès Masra insists to Macron that he is available to very quickly plot a new destabilization against the Chadian regime. There is no doubt that Abidjan served as a rear base, and a veritable hub for the Chadian opposition leader, who stayed there regularly. He had established his headquarters there with the blessing of Alassane Ouattara, who frequently received him, offering him room and board, no doubt to please his master, Emmanuel Macron. Moreover, Succès Masra himself says no different in the message he sent to Macron from Abidjan. One can easily imagine that it was after one of his audiences with Ouattara that he took the initiative to request a meeting with the French president, in order to brief him on his fruitful discussions in Abidjan. It should also be noted, based on our investigations, that the Chadian opposition leader benefited from wads of cash provided by Tani Birahima Ouattara, the true chief financial officer of this enterprise, for his destabilization operation. And no one can deny this. Alassane Ouattara's interest in this affair is twofold. On the one hand, to please Emmanuel Macron in order to secure his endorsement for a fourth term he covets. On the other hand, to destabilize Mahamat Idriss Deby, whom he loathes, let's remember, because he is a military man. French General Grégoire de Saint-Quentin, a five-star commander, has been the head of the French mercenary group GIAS since 2024. He assures Masra of his willingness to help him become the new president of Chad, in the pay of Francafrique. When the sleuths of Chad's general intelligence learned of the Masra plot, and the Abidjan-Paris-Brazzaville triangle, they apparently intercepted messages in which Succès Masra encouraged the creation of hotbeds of interethnic tension in southern Chad, as triggers for the planned coup. Succès Masra even sent a letter to the French president regarding the promotion of Ms. Rufine Gabordo, head of an NGO for spies infiltrated in Chad. I will read it to you. Document 2. Discussions between Masra and General Grégoire de Saint-Quentin. Message from Succès Masra to the General. General, thank you for your availability and for these in-depth discussions. I am very pleased to be able to continue them tomorrow, and together build friendship and efficiency in the service of our two peoples. Best regards, Success. General's response. Dear Success. It was a shared pleasure, and I would be delighted to continue our discussions. You have clear ideas, a straight mind, and all your personal qualities, particularly courage, are powerful driving forces. This is truly the mark of a leader. Let's stay in touch and see you when you're in Paris. Best regards, Gregoire de Saint-Quentin. Response from Succès Masra. Thank you very much. Message from the General to Succès Masra. Dear Success. I found it an excellent evening yesterday, with a good level of communication. If you're interested, I'm attaching the link to my last interview on LCI. Starting at minute 29. Have a great rest of your stay, and I hope to see you soon. Best regards. Response from Succès Masra. Thank you, General. I'll be very happy to follow you. Don't hesitate to ask if there are any books, documentaries, or other contributions you deem useful. I'd be delighted to purchase or follow them. Best regards, and see you soon, Success. Document 3. Masra's recommendations to Macron for the promotion of Ms. Rufine Guebordeau, a Macronist elected official and consular advisor, to head an NGO of French spies disguised as humanitarians in Chad. Dr. Succès Masra. President of the Transformers Party. N'Djamena, Chad. Success.masra@transformateurschad.africa. To Mr. Emmanuel Macron. President of the Republic, Élysée, Paris, France. Subject. Ms. Guebordeau Rufine, a Macronist consular official residing in Chad, and involved in civil society and entrepreneurship for many years. An example of the fruitful relationship to be fostered between Chad and France, which I would have honored if I were elected President of Chad. Mr. President. Your message and your visible commitment to working unfiltered with civil society, and Franco-African women engaged on the ground resonate, and the actions you are taking are encouraging. Among these, the Presidential Council for Africa, which is your intended unfiltered measure of the realities on the ground. As a friend of France and a political actor on the ground in Chad, I also feel it is my duty to bring directly to your attention, what I believe is best preserved in the France-Chad relationship, which I look forward to strengthening, and growing even further in the future. I would like to tell you about a woman who, for me, represents the best of what can be presented as a fruitful relationship between France and Chad on a daily basis. Ms. Guebordeau has been a consular official since 2014 and is affiliated with En Marche. She was also the representative of the French in Chad in 2000. Born on October 24, 1961, she met your compatriot Patrice Guebordeau in Chad, with whom she had 2 charming daughters, one of whom was crowned Miss African Union in Paris in 2019. She lived for 40 years in La Rochelle with her husband, a geneticist who, during his time in Chad and Africa, created 6 varieties of cotton for the benefit of Chadian and African agriculture. Ms. Guebordeau, a lawyer by training in France, is also above all an entrepreneurial commitment, a school to train young women in the hotel and restaurant industry, and a very strong territorial network with associations in Chad. She created the Guebordeau Foundation in Chad, in memory of her late husband, and for bilateral relations between Chad and France, and works with numerous high schools. Here Mr. President is a woman who deserves direct, multifaceted support, as you have done in other countries, including recently in Lebanon, where you have sometimes innovated by working directly with those on the ground. That's your hallmark. On a personal note, I should point out that, having been invited along with other diplomats to the official presentation ceremony of our party, which ended on June 1, 2019, with gunfire targeting our procession, while I was suffocating and losing consciousness after being hit in the temple, I was saved thanks to her quick reflexes and first aid, which allowed me to revive before the doctors arrived. In the end, perhaps she deserves 2 decorations from 2 presidents of the Republic, one in France and the other in Chad, 2 countries that have become hers forever. She has received neither so far, and we hope it will only be a matter of time. Thanking you for your attention to this correspondence, please accept, Mr. President, the assurance of our highest consideration. Signed Dr. Succès Masra. Thus, it is indeed a vast Francafrique conspiracy against Chad that has just been reconstituted. Not content with destabilizing the Sahel and West Africa, French neocolonialism, and its local lackeys want to destabilize Central Africa. Africans, tighten your seatbelts. This is why the Chadian government rejected the group of French lawyers assigned to Masra's defense, on the grounds that this was nothing more than blatant interference by France in Chad's internal affairs. Document 4. Press release from Masra's French lawyers. Borden and Associates. Lawyers. Press release. The undersigned announced that they have been asked to intervene alongside their Chadian colleagues, to establish an international pool of lawyers, and take all necessary steps to secure their clients' release and exoneration. It should be noted that former Prime Minister Succès Masra, arrested on May 16, 2025, was questioned by the judicial police yesterday, before being brought before the public prosecutor today. The latter decided to open a judicial investigation. Succès Masra was charged by an investigating judge, and then placed in pre-trial detention. To date, there is no evidence of the charges against Succès Masra, as he never incited any violence. To date, there is no evidence of the charges against Succès Masra, who has never encouraged any violence. The accusation is based on an empty case. Succès Masra is a prominent politician who has always acted in a law-abiding manner. He is the opposite of the accusations made against him, which further demonstrates their extreme absurdity and the true intentions they conceal. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, a completely political procedure aimed at judicially eliminating a major opponent. The undersigned demand his release, and call on the international community to respond to this arbitrary procedure, and for it to be put to an end. The undersigned announce the establishment of steps to stand alongside their Chadian colleagues. Referring to the Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, the Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights, and the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Opinion and Expression. Contact various non-governmental organizations to alert them to the extreme seriousness of this arrest. Paris, May 21, 2025. Signed William Borden and Vincent Brengarth. Document 5. Official Chadian statement in response to Masra's French lawyers' request to ban them from Chadian soil. Republic of Chad. Presidency of the Republic. Prime Office. Ministry of Communications. Directorate of Office. Official Statement. The Government of the Republic of Chad has learned of the arrival on Chadian territory of a group of foreign lawyers, presenting themselves as lawyers for Mr. Succès Masra, President of Les Transformateurs Party, who is being prosecuted as part of the judicial investigations into the tragic events that occurred in Mandakeo, in the province of Logwan Occidental, which resulted in the deaths of 42 Chadian citizens, mostly women and children. The government wishes to firmly reiterate that Chad is a sovereign state, endowed with solid republican institutions, in particular an independent and competent judiciary, fully capable of handling any case falling within its jurisdiction. The time when foreign lawyers could come, under false pretenses, to influence or dictate the course of justice in our African states is now over. Chadian lawyers, who are trained and experienced, have no lessons to take from anyone. The government of Chad therefore rejects any attempt at foreign interference in the country's internal affairs, in any form whatsoever. The government reassures the Chadian people that full light will be shed on the violence in Mandakeo. The perpetrators, co-perpetrators, and accomplices, whoever they may be, will be held accountable for their actions before the courts, in strict compliance with the law and due process. The Republic of Chad remains firmly committed to its sovereignty, the rule of law, and respect for judicial procedures. Done in N'Djamena, May 22, 2025. Signed the Minister of Communication, Government Spokesperson, Gassim Cherif Mahamat. President Mahamat Idris Deby thus recalls what his late father had already denounced in a vigorous interview given to TV5, France 24, and RFI in N'Djamena. I would have liked to stop, as I had promised in 2002, during the second term. That is to say, in 2006, I was supposed to hand over power to the next president. But war broke out. N'Djamena was attacked. The country was at war. Do you understand? And as I said, in African politics, France often intervenes, and I say it loud and clear. France intervened even though I hadn't asked for it. I said I couldn't change the constitution. I say this for the record. Bongo Senior was there. It was in Paris. I refused, and I didn't campaign for the constitution to be changed. It's always France that does it. It's always France that's behind it. Let me finish, please. The constitutionalist who came here, I don't even know his name. I refused. I said I wasn't changing it. They went through their own mysteries, since for France, Africa is nothing hidden, it's in its hands. They went through all of them and they changed the constitution. It wasn't Deby who changed the constitution.
Was it Paris who forced your hand to stay in power?
I said, as a soldier, I gave my word at the time to leave power in 2006. Two things happened. The war, obviously, and France.
Was it France who told you to continue?
Of course. And today, it's those who changed the constitution who are criticizing me. Chadians, you have been warned, because the neo-colonialist dog never changes its posture. Chris Yapi does not lie. Find Chris Yapi on his 2 YouTube channels, his Rumble channel, his TikTok, X, Instagram, VK and Threads accounts.